Welcome everybody to another episode of Fantasy News. I am here to... I did remember to turn on the audio. Welcome everybody to another episode of Fantasy News. I am your disheveled goblin host, Daniel Greene, and today we have one AI story to start things off with, but it is likely the most important precedent-setting AI story we have covered since this issue began. So buckle on up and get ready to talk about two titans taking it out on each other. And that is because Disney is accusing Midjourney of copyright infringement and has brought a very thorough lawsuit against them, actually alleging multiple types of copyright infringement within their suit. Now, I'm actually a little bit late in getting to this. I do apologize. It somehow flew under my radar until I saw the legal video about it, but that inspired me to do some perusing not only into the lawsuit itself, but also the reaction I've seen online. I also ended up doing a dumb little skit about it on my second channel. Feel free to check that on out. But if you have not seen the basics, just over summarizing, Disney, alongside with Universal, has put Midjourney in their scope, and the meme of "don't mess with the mouse" in court has been flying about abundantly. They are specifically taking issue with how in Midjourney you can essentially just recreate an image of Darth Vader while changing maybe the background, and that's not exactly transformative. In fact, there's even allegations in this lawsuit that Midjourney is able to spit out exact screenshots and captures from within Disney-owned movies and shows, which has resulted in quotes like this from the Syracuse University law professor, Shubda Ghosh. A lot of the images that Midjourney produces just seem to be copies of copyrighted characters that might be in new locations or with a new background. It doesn't seem like they're being transformed in a creative or imaginative way. The Midjourney counterargument to this is essentially that they are only facilitating users' ability to create these images, and they're trying to position themselves more as just a collection of data that people do what they will with, and they are not responsible for the output of their product. Looking into it, I don't think the timing of this lawsuit is just coming out of nowhere. One, Disney does want to act before companies are able to sustain themselves and grow while mining their copyrighted content before they could begin arguing that, hey, this has been going on for a long time and you didn't complain until X or Y. That is important, but in addition to that, we are also seeing a whole lot of AI-based products and services trying to come out in the next weeks or months with features that will allow their users to create video. And taking that step forward, at least from what I've seen experts in the field talking about, is way more of a threat, something that these big companies like Universal and Disney want to take action against. And taking the lawsuit to Midjourney right now before it's even out will set the precedent going forward of how much they're able to use owned IP to train these products on or use in their output for their users. And a little bit damning on Midjourney's part is how effectively they have introduced certain filters to stop their products from generating, for example, adult content. That proves that Midjourney could be preventing its AI from using copyrighted material. They've just chosen not to. Before I say this next part, do not get me wrong. I think this lawsuit in the long run will be a good thing and hopefully will set precedents that will trickle down to helping smaller players in the space who couldn't exactly afford to bring a massive lawsuit against a company like Midjourney. This is going to be beneficial for creatives across the board, hopefully, if they win. Yet, I've seen some people already trying to pose this narrative that Disney is stepping in, almost acting altruistically. That is absolutely not the case. And it's why in my skit, I tried to pose Disney as like this murdering psycho rather than some great artistic defender. They are worried about their bottom line, and Disney itself does not seem to be anti-AI in any significant way. In fact, they are currently in talks with OpenAI for significant partnerships, and we've already seen them rolling out having a AI-powered Darth Vader within Fortnite. I would not be surprised at all if in the next couple of years they start rolling out aggressively within their theme parks, AI-powered animatronics, things along those lines. Disney is not trying to do away with artificial intelligence or its utilization within the creative space. What they are seeing is the potential of their bottom line getting hit. So instead of these companies being able to mine Disney's IP to benefit them, they would like it so that these companies have to pay Disney for licensing, etc., what have you. And so with this lawsuit, Disney can turn a potential loss into profit. Two things can be true at once. Disney is doing standard capitalistic business protecting practices, and hopefully the precedents they set here could, in the long run, benefit smaller players and actors within the space. But this is coming at a time where obviously we are seeing other lawsuits from publishers against Meta for their book theft, and basically courts are going to have to decide in the near future how transformative this generative AI technology truly is, and hopefully, in my opinion, the copyright protections will stand up and there will be tremendous fines, penalties, or even the confiscation of technology in response to what's been done. That's what I hope for. Is that likely to happen?
I doubt it.
But even if, let's say, the publishers successfully get Meta to pay them a few $1 billion, that's probably going to be less money than Meta will eventually earn from using this AI that's now been trained on the books they took and cannot essentially be untrained. Maybe it could, I don't know, but everything I've read says that would be incredibly difficult legally to force to be done. So just the big takeaway I would say is that yes, the mouse is taking on the big problem right now. And in tremendous author business news, one of the biggest in the space right now, Sarah J. Maas has pinned a deal with IMG for licensing her A Court of Thorns and Roses universe. And this will extend into apparel, beauty, lifestyle, food, games, and immersive fan experiences. Now note, what's absent from that was show or movie rights. Yes, the Hulu adaptation that was in the works officially has fallen apart, and the rights have actually reverted back into Sarah J. Maas's hand. She has not handed them over to IMG in this deal, though, and is currently shopping them around to a bunch of different studios, is the quote from this article. But what I've learned doing this job for so long is a lot of people just say stuff like that and they aren't entirely sure what's happening in terms of deals and conversations behind closed doors. We just need to wait till there's an official actual announcement, but I would be willing to bet my butt that A Court of Thorns and Roses will absolutely be getting a live action major adaptation in the future. It has sold over 70 million copies. It's just a matter of time. But before we get into more fantasy news, I have some fun updates here on the channel. The Wheel of Time summary project is still cranking along, and I have recorded summaries up to book 8. I'm really killing it, feeling awesome with how this is progressing, and Kayla is edited through book 3. And in fact, book 3 will be live on Patreon at noon today. So if you'd like to go ahead and see the unedited extended edition of these videos, you just gotta give us $1 a month and then pretty much they're yours. Unfortunately, I do have bad news for the project, which is that after talking to my YouTube rep, we cannot get special permission to upload a video longer than 12 hours on my channel. So the end Wheel of Time summary will have to be at max 12 hours in length. So the final video that ends up here on YouTube could be a slightly condensed version, and those that are on the Patreon could be considered a director's cut, something like that. Yet, I don't think we're going to have to remove much, because as I've gotten to recording summaries of the slog, I can get through those books extremely quickly. So having all 14 summarized in 12 hours is looking more and more possible and likely. But this brings me to a bigger shift that I've been slowly migrating the output on my channel towards over the years, kind of officially taking effect. In general, I'm going to be devoting most of my time here as a YouTuber toward larger projects like the full Wheel of Time summary, reading every Adrian Tchaikovsky book, and putting videos like that out because they feel more creatively freeing to me. I have more time than just a week or two to get something done, and I can really cook on it and put out something a bit more special for you all, the goblins, to enjoy. Don't get me wrong, there are still going to be a lot of the standard videos coming out. I plan on doing an updated top 10 fantasy series of all time list pretty soon, because it's been more than a year or two since I've done that, but you're less likely to be getting one-off standard reviews, which, to be fair, on BookTube do pretty terrible in general, and instead deep dive, focus bigger projects, because that's what YouTube's been rewarding for a while, and I gotta look out for my business. So I enjoy them more, and they're better for us. That's kind of gonna be the big test of 2025, and if it works out, fantastic. If not, hey, I'll just keep doing what I've been doing, and that's great. Now, in some fascinating Lord of the Rings news, we have seen it announced that the infamous 1978 adaptation is now going to be brought to Blu-ray in 1080p. Yes, the rotoscoped fever dream adaptation of Tolkien's masterpiece, directed by Bakshi. This is quite the fascinating bit of Lord of the Rings history, and I'd love to use the excuse of its release to give you some interesting insight into why you may even have some strange recollections about this movie having a sequel when it never did, despite it being planned to from beginning, because this was supposed to be a part 1. Don't know what happened there, but upon the movie's release, this was dropped from the title, and moviegoers went in without knowing any better, and many left disappointed with the story ending at Helm's Deep. That sucks. Despite that, though, it did manage to make roughly 8 times its budget back, but still, Bakshi wanted some space between him and the movie before he began working on the sequel. Combine that with a few other factors, and part 2 just never comes about. Though, you may have a memory of a sequel, because there's a non-legitimate one. Rankin and Bass, yes, the ones who brought us the animated Hobbit movie, also decided to put out, coincidentally, a Lord of the Rings sequel that happened to pick up roughly where this one left off, and they called it Return of the King. This Hobbit was a Rankin and Bass product, and so was their Return of the King sequel. This ended up with lawsuits, and despite the litigation that happened, these 3 projects are often lumped together by fans. Many even think they are from the same creative team when they are not, which we know for sure pisses off Bakshi because he has had this to say about the Hobbit and Return of the King specials. Anyone who saw the Rankin Bass version of The Hobbit knows it has nothing to do with the quality and style of our feature. My life isn't going to be altered by what Rankin Bass chose to do badly.
That's got a sting, huh?
I mean, yeah, with these 2 claiming that their Hobbit could easily have Return of the King act as its sequel with only a few minor story adjustments, you start to smell a certain amount of bullshit in the air. Which is why I'm extra happy to say that the Blu-ray re-release is just going to be the original 1978 brought to us by Bakshi, who, yes, never got to do his part 2, but we can still enjoy the rather strange Part 1, despite it just ending at Helm's Deep. But speaking of Adrian Tchaikovsky, I have now read 3 of his sci-fi books, and wow, the guy is one of the GOATs. There's not a whole lot denying that, and I'm excited to say the book I'm currently in the middle of reading, Alien Clay, is actually the focus of our next story here, and that is because it is getting a special edition from Subterranean Press. With a dust jacket illustrated by Alex Reese and interior illustrations by Simon Roy, the pre-order is currently live for this special edition. It's set to be published this fall, and this recent release from Adrian is summarized as, "Humanity has never before encountered a world like Kiln, seething with deadly life forms and littered with the ruins of a vanished intelligent species. The planet poses an immense challenge to science, but it also serves as the perfect prison." Jumping from Children in Time to Alien Clay has been a joy. I cannot wait to get my Adrian Tchaikovsky video done. Next news. And that is going to be another special edition, this time dropping to us from the Folio Society, because they have decided to add yet another Stephen King story to their lineup of the author's works, joining Carrie, Pet Sematary, and The Shining. Now, if you act quickly, you will be able to get one of only 500 copies they are printing of their special editions for It. Releasing July 15th at 4 p.m. UK time, this edition will feature illustrations by Jim Burns, and David Curtis will be handling the tattered typography, end papers, and slipcase. And they are all going to be signed by the artists as well. Very cool. But in the final bit of special edition news, we have some rapid releases from The Broken Binding, starting with their release for Rebecca Roanhorse's Between Earth and Sky series, with new cover art by Riko Murakami and illustrations by Kara Malakova. The first book in this series, Black Sun, I read and absolutely adored as a shining example of what modern fantasy could really reach to be. So seeing Rebecca Roanhorse get the Broken Binding treatment is super exciting. Pitched as a trilogy inspired by the civilizations of the pre-Columbian Americas, woven into a tale of celestial prophecies, political intrigue, and forbidden magic. And then if you've been keeping track of their art releases for the Malazan series, they have now released their cover art for book 6 by Felix Ortiz, The Bone Hunters. And it fits in so well with the rest of the 5 they've already put out. These look so good, goddamn. From here though, I am excited to say that we have had the 2025 Locus Awards winners announced. And I am having the most insane case of deja vu over this. I could have sworn just like a month ago we covered the Locus Awards for 2025, but I'm crazy and wrong. Let's go ahead and cover the main categories. The winner of Best Science Fiction Novel of 2025 was The Man Who Saw Seconds by Alexander Baldazar. The winner of Best Fantasy Novel was A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. King Fisher. The winner for Best Horror Novel went to Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle, and the 2025 winner of Best Young Adult Novel went to Moonstorm by Yoon-Ha Lee. And a book that has definitely caught my eye since we discussed the cover reveal of it also won Best First Novel, and that would be Someone You Can Build a Nest In by John Wiswell. That was the one that featured a shape-shifting monster falling in love. It stuck with me. I don't know why. But getting into the cover reveals for this week, we have had a banger drop from Alexis Hall being posted by Tor. This cover art was done by Lydia Ortiz, with Hell's Heart being pitched as Moby Dick meets Gideon the Ninth. And I'm sorry. What? That is that combo, legally you can say those two stories came together for this one. I just have a very hard time picturing it. And this will be hitting shelves March 10th of 2026. And then in my favorite cover reveal of the day, we have had one drop for Jasmine Kirkbride, The Forest on the Edge of Time, with art by Sam Greene. The Forest on the Edge of Time is described as the future of another timeline meets the bone clocks in this dazzling piece of time travel climate fiction, recruited by the mysterious project Kairos to change history and save the future from ecological disaster. Echo and Hazel are transported through time to opposite worlds. Echo works as a healer's assistant in ancient Athens, embroiled in dangerous politics and wild philosophy. Hazel is the last human alive in a laboratory on a polluted island with nothing but tiny robots and an untrustworthy AI for company. I love that. That's the right level of absurd yet weird idea I'd have on the couch at 3 a.m. unable to sleep to make a fantastic sci-fi story. That really caught my eye, hot damn. And the cover, minimal, yet bold, ambitious. Yet these next 2 books, they be not getting cover reveals. They be getting title reveals. The first of which is going to be from a favorite author here on the channel, Martha Wells, because the next entry within the Murderbot series has now been confirmed, not only to be a novella, but also to retain the name Platform Decay. Though this is still very early on for the book, so no release date is known, I'm just really excited for another Murderbot book, and despite not really enjoying the first few episodes of the adaptation over Apple, the show is winning me over, despite me continually wanting the episodes, along with my dad sharing this criticism, to be longer. It feels like right when I'm really settling into the story, that's when every episode ends. It's frustrating. But this next title reveal is going to be coming from fellow content creator and bookstagrammer Caden Love. The sequel to Toothsucker, which in celebration of this announcement will be going on sale for $1, which is, dramatic pause. No, that's not the title. The title's not Dramatic Pause. I was just putting one in there. The actual title is going to be Chromatic Creep. Congratulations, Caden. This is so cool. And apparently people have been saying that Toothless and Neon Ghost share vibage, which makes me quite happy. I've never put my books on sale like that because I always forget that I can. Good marketing job, Caden. I need to take a note from you. But in some massive manga news, a major series within the space has officially announced it will be coming to an end rather quickly, and that is because Vinland Saga is now confirmed to be ending with issue 220 next month. And I haven't caught up, so I don't know how this is going to be received by fans, but Vinland Saga was an absolute thrill ride to share with you all in some read-alongs here on the channel. I had to drop it just due to life becoming overwhelming and also that series stopped performing so well. That's the advantage of me shifting to these larger projects. If I'm going to do a summary video for you all of Vinland Saga in the future, it will just be the full thing. Apparently the author has dedicated 20 years of their life to Vinland Saga, which is just an incredible amount of time. And I still think, putting the just overall quality of Vinland Saga aside, it was really neat from my perspective specifically, seeing someone from Japan get so immersed and dedicated to exploring Nordic culture and communicating a story through it. It's kind of the inverse of what you see a lot of the time happening over here, where people will research, Asian cultures to try and tell a story from an outsider's perspective. This series provided the other way around, and it was executed so respectfully. I just loved that part of it. Attention crawlers! We have also had a last-minute announcement that Dungeon Crawler Carl will officially be releasing its webtoon exclusively to Webtoon, July 17th of 2025. Get ready for the next level. But this is going to take us to the week's quickie news. Let's go ahead and kind of not quickie news our way through it. A lot of the times I say that, and then I'm having more to say about a quickie story. No one calls me out on that. I don't understand why. I'm blatantly lying to you. But anyway, the first quickie news story of the week is going to be the fact that, hey, Alex Garland seems to be taking the fact that he is going to be directing an Elden Ring movie rather seriously, because he's apparently on his 7th playthrough of the game. I love hearing that. Now just do it good. Sony is rumored to be considering acquiring Warner Bros. Discovery Streaming if the split we talked about happening with Warner Bros. Last week in fantasy news actually does happen. James Bobbin is in talks to direct a video game adaptation on Netflix of Dragon's Lair, which is an arcade game I have seen only referenced in shows and movies, have not seen it in person, but apparently it was extremely popular. That which I'm surprised to hear. I don't even know what the gameplay of this is. From what I've seen, it's like mini animated clips of a knight going through and fighting a dragon, but what's the gameplay? That's all I've ever seen of it. And then apparently the writer behind Raised by Wolves is going to be penning the script for the Death Stranding animated movie. And I did watch the first couple episodes of Raised by Wolves, and from what I recall from the vibe of that show, does seem like a good choice to write Death Stranding based off of the limited exposure I've had to that game. Speaking from a place of ignorance, but I'm trying to be real with it. And then in related news, I don't often do this, but I cannot help myself this time. We have seen the headline emerge that apparently Hideo Kojima made changes to the second Death Stranding game because playtesters were too positive on it. Apparently he wanted the game to be more polarizing and doesn't want it to manage to be mainstream. With a full quote from someone who works closely with Hideo Kojima saying, "There's a key moment where we had a discussion, probably halfway through when we were doing the game, where he came to me and he said, 'We have a problem.' Then he said, 'I'm going to be very honest. We have been testing this game with players and the results are too good. They like it too much. That means something is wrong. We have to change something.'" The more I've sat with this article and headline, looking into the actual full context of stuff around this, I think this is a comment being taken wildly out of context by a lot of people and could be taken so many different ways. Hideo Kojima could have simply meant, I wanted to make something extremely challenging and people just seemed to be easing through the game. Maybe there were more upsetting concepts that he wanted to put in, but he pulled back because he's afraid they'd be too alienating. Yeah, there are a lot of reasons you could see people just having a breezy time with your game, and as someone who's trying to make something horrific or unsettling go, oh crap, maybe I could have gone further. So yeah, you could take this as the ultimate hipster, I made my game worse because too many people were liking it vibe, which I find kind of silly even for someone like Hideo Kojima. or it could be, hey, this is a bunch of headlines running with something barely in context. But speaking of video games, we have also had a trailer drop that has been taking the video game space by storm, it seems, for Blood Message. Making use of the new Unreal Engine 5, this game is going to take players to the real-life 84 AD Dunhuang Uprising, and looks to have gameplay similar to that of Uncharted, really an action-adventure through the landscape story. And wow, I know graphics and shiny stuff should not win people over, but damn, this actually was showing quite a bit of gameplay, it looked like, and the way the environments shined was just tantalizing. But this has just been your latest episode of Fantasy News. If you'd like to see more on my face, head on over to Patreon and you can see books 1, 2, and 3 of the Wheel of Time summarized. Later this week, you'll be getting a new top 10 sci-fi fantasy series of all time video from me. And over on the second channel, you'll be getting some Wandering In talk, as well as some more other quickie, more chill videos. Thank you so much. Love y'all. Have a good one. Peace. And I would like to record a special shout out to my latest high tier patrons, Sean Russo and Jay Whips.